Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Oh, happy Wednesday. Oh, you know what? I'm going to look at these cards. Wow. It's May 15th, 2024. We getting the party started early, huh? Literally with the Three of Cups. What's this about? Some dark magic? Sacrifice? Ooh, judgment? And justice. Well, I'll obey. That's all I need to say. Let's see where this is going. That was quite unexpected. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well today. And that your week is off to a good start. All of that energy plus the Hangman, judgment, and justice. Whatever it is, it's not much to really be worried about. Whatever the energy is, has more to worry or fear than anything. But very curious way to start, for sure. All right, one more cut, and let's see what we got here. Exactly. You ain't got nothing to worry. If that ain't you, if you not up in the party, casting spells and dark incantations, or even just practically speaking, projecting ill will toward anyone, you ain't got nothing to worry. Exactly. Five of Swords, nothing to worry. I'm not even going to take this energy out against the Lovers. Wow. Yeah. But I feel like this is something, like I said, it's no real cause for alarm. It's almost kind of laughable. Yeah, exactly. Because whatever it was just didn't amount to much. Certainly not to what it was anticipated to, or what it was intended to, I should say. Maybe you were supposed to be in this Five of Pentacles here, or maybe at some point in time you were, but that's not where you are now as the Star. And there may have been a great deal of energy and effort exerted, invested, and expelled to secure this fate of despair at all cost. Somebody had a lot to prove and a lot to gain at someone else's demise, or at someone else's expense. But yeah, doesn't look like it really worked out too well. I had a weird dream last night. I'm going to pull the cards, and I'm not going to take this because we are not entertaining this energy like that. I don't even know if I'm going to share the whole dream, but let's just say one part of it was that I was in my childhood neighborhood, like where I grew up, and there was a specific store that's literally been there since I can remember. It's still there. As a matter of fact, it's changed different owners, even different cultures and and races, but for the most part, it's what you would call in New York a bodega, but in New Jersey, particularly in the cities, we call them corner stores, even though this store wasn't particularly on the corner. Most of them usually are. It was in the middle of the block, but we referred to it as the corner store. And it was, at the last I remember, run by a pretty sweet Dominican couple. And like I said, it's had different owners before then of different Latin heritages, even Asian, I think. I can remember at one point in time. But anyway, so I was at the store and it was at a strange part of the day because it was kind of dark outside, but I was walking by the store and the door was wide open, which was weird because the lights were not really all the way on. It was like some partially lit inside. So it was given that the store wasn't fully open, but the door was open, which is not typical at all for that store. So I walked in because I really, really wanted to buy some snacks. Now, fast forward, the most interesting part of the dream, I'll maybe preview a few bits and pieces if it comes up. I don't know. But the most interesting part of the dream was that at some point in time, every little step I take came on in the store, which it wasn't open when I got there, but I went and found the manager or the owner and asked if I could shop anyway, and he reluctantly but nicely said yes. It was like, oh, you're kind of already here, might as well type of thing. And then suddenly it turned like it was more daytime in the store, and it seemed more like it was in normal operating hours at that point. There was some stuff that happened in between what I'm about to tell you, but I don't know if it's really as important as, even though there was a three of cups. There were three girls that walked into the store. One I knew from New York, coincidentally, as I referenced New York bodegas. And the other two were familiar to me in the dream, but it was one of those things like I knew them, but when I woke up, I couldn't remember like how they were familiar to me, but I knew them. And they were kind of snubby to me, like almost snub. One girl in particular said, "Oh, Danae, frolicking all the day," or something like that. Like it was like she was trying to play me for living my best life or something. That's how it was, but it kind of incited a bit of an insecurity in me at the same time, because I'm like, well, shit, what the fuck else am I supposed to be doing? Like depressed, sad, like not enjoying my life and my existence. And then I started, kind of quickly in dream state, kind of checking myself over like, well, damn, what the hell, So watch out for projections, because that probably was important for me to say, that some people might just be a little bit jealous, which is that Five of Swords energy, about it's really just a deflection, of how they actually may feel dissatisfied or unpleased with their choices or their circumstances, their present experience. A lot of times when it comes down to so-called jealousy, it's not even really pound for pound who you are, what you have, what you do, and all of that. It's usually an internal deflection, that they just wish they could have some essence of what they're idolizing for themselves. So watch out for that in this season of transition. If you checked out the message from yesterday of where you yourself are finding a grounding with this newfound freedom of fulfillment, and what that feels like and looks like and is in real time compared to what you may have been used to. And that may be something that stands out or maybe a bit out of beat and out of tune with convention, and certainly even with those that know you best, or that you're, in circles with, that either don't feel privy to that reality or feel privileged to live the certain way that you do, or just have an opinion or an objection to the fact that you do. So be careful of that. Stand your own ground on what you know to be righteous for you, and protect your energy from projection, because in that quick instance, even in my dream, it carried on later that I remembered that it made me feel slightly insecure for a second, like that I should feel guilty for, like I felt like she was saying like frolicking all the day, like almost, trying to call me like useless or just, like I ain't doing nothing, just walking around, smelling roses, having fun, living, it said something to me, and I was just like, what? Like, all right, girl. But anyway, the part of the dream that I felt to share, I guess that part probably was more important than this. This part was just strange. That at one point in time, Every Little Step I Take by Bobby Brown came on the speakers, and I was like dancing my life away. This was after my encounter with the three girls, mind you. Dancing my whole life away in one aisle that was kind of away from everybody else. Nobody was around while I was dancing. I know I was near chips though, like snacks. And then suddenly this face peers around the aisle, around the corner, and who would it be? None else than Diddy. It was Diddy. Like clear as day, it looked like him. I felt how sometimes somebody might not look like what they actually look like, but it actually looked like him, and I just recognized him as Diddy. And he looked around, peered around the aisle, and I kind of straightened up a little bit, kind of coiled into myself a bit, like a little bit embarrassed, but not really. It was just like, oh, I'm not doing this for audience. So I kind of just like adjusted myself. And he said something to the effect like, no, keep dancing, or let's dance, or something like that. And then we just started dancing our lives away in the aisle in the middle of this corner store in Dream State, New Jersey, okay? And he had on a trench coat that was fully buttoned and belted, and the belt was tied. I also thought that was strange. Like, why is Diddy in a trench coat? I had on like this pink, real cute kind of bodycon dress, like more of a strong pink, like a fuchsia, but not quite so strong or vibrant, but something in between that and like a Barbie pink. And I was looking cute. My hair was like straight and curled, like wispy blowout curls, and I was just dancing my life away. And the song was so distinct. And so we're dancing like separately, just doing like regular old hip hop type R&B dances. And then he like puts his hand out to, summon for mine. And then we start doing like these ballroom dances. And so he would pull me close and like, have his back here, like us doing that ballroom dance throughout the aisle at first. And then we would separate again and go back to like, regular hip hop, R&B type of groove. Then he would pull me in again and we'd start dancing like these ballroom dances. And then he started twirling me around, like we were like moving with the dance. You know how they do like on the actual ballroom, especially in like competitions where they span the whole spread of the floor, and we're like moving all around the store in this ballroom form. And I remember like I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the whirling around, and I said something to the effect like, am I letting you lead? Is this you leading? And he was like, yeah, I'm leading, because I wasn't sure if I was like stepping on his toes in the sense of, how one person usually leads the dance, or because it seemed a bit like a struggle for me to kind of, at first, to allow myself to be comfortable with this exchange. First of all, it was probably weird because we're ballroom dancing in the corner store, but also to Every Little Step I Take by Bobby Brown, and the fact that, it's Diddy. So there were multiple factors, I'm sure, that were in play. But he was like, yeah, I'm leading. And then he starts kind of leading us all over the store, but ballroom style whole time. And then at one point we passed the part of where the girls had disappeared into. They went into some back end of the store that almost seemed like an attachment to the store. It was like a complete, you know what it looked like? It looked like a phone store, but attached to the corner store, which does not exist in the actual place that I'm speaking of. But it was so distinct and different that it just looked like two different places. But there was no there was only a threshold that led to the other side. It wasn't like another door or anything. So it was a part of it, but somehow it didn't feel like it. And the last thing I remember is us kind of shifting toward where they were, and when we started dancing past that way, they all looked like, all heads like turned real fast, like what is going on? Probably shocked, just as shocked as I was. But I remember partially feeling a little bit good about them seeing me dancing with Diddy. I mean, take it for a grain of salt, if you will. But in the dream, I felt like vindicated because I was like, yeah, bitches, I'm dancing with Diddy. Fuck y'all. I didn't really say that or even really connect to that emotion in the actual dream, but I just remember slightly feeling like, I was happy that they saw me dancing with Diddy. It did something to my ego in that moment. And then, lo and behold, it kind of faded to black with us dancing. Isn't that weird? I don't know if that means anything for this reading or for life. Oh, but look at this. And it wasn't a struggle, right? It definitely was, but whatever it means, I'm going to take it upright and we'll see how it all plays out as far as the struggle is concerned. But yeah, that was the strangest thing. That was the strangest dream I've had in a while. Like, mostly my dreams, they can be strange, but they're usually with all people that I know or just me by myself. But it's very rare for me to have a celebrity in my dream. So I've crossed into some new threshold of dream work and dream state that, is going to be new for me. But yeah, here's some strong love energy, some powerful love vibes. Yeah. But the biggest thing about the Diddy thing, along with the 3-girl encounter, was about it could have been about me actually releasing the attachment to validation and acceptance, if I were to really give it a thing, because like I said, it was evident that I felt vindicated dancing with Diddy, as if his presence somehow validated mine, especially in the eyes of beholders, you know what I mean, that could actually witness me. Somehow, me dancing with him was a contradiction to however those girls felt about me, to me though. Whether it even mattered to them at all, because let's be real, it's Diddy in real life, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I would dance with the man, right now. But in that moment, it meant something. So it could even, if I could translate it, and transmit the message as it resonated with me, it definitely could be a releasing of any attachment to external validation at all, because this is the eternal source here with the Ace of Cups. It's not just about from an ethereal nature or source. This is what is gifted as a flow from the inside out, and that is the strength of your security. This is about courage and boldness and confidence, and that's a very personally that's cultivated from a personal space. If it's never supported or pronounced outside of you, it will always be sustainable from the inside out, And so there are so many different elements of that dream that I could dissect, especially given I was in my childhood neighborhood and in the corner store and so on and so forth. Even at one point in time, I took a nap in the store and literally had a blanket on. It was so much time spent in this store, and that part is still baffling to me. Like, I don't know why. But I feel like there's a great deal to interpret there that maybe is translatable to you in some strange way. I don't know, but there you have it. All right, let's get a few more cards. I hope I didn't bore you too much with that little anecdote, but I don't know. I felt the need to share. King of Cups. There's the objector. Ooh, the objector of your affections. As the King of Cups, he definitely objectifies his affections, and usually has an object of affections, is sensitive and compassionate and loving of all the kings. Maybe not a fuckboy, so maybe we talking about some energy, Diddy is a Scorpio, and King of Cups is a strong Scorpio or water energy. And here we got the the Knight of Wands in the reverse. So that could speak. I don't know. Like, let's see what's on the bottom. Okay. My neighbor in the strange change of events is playing Total Praise right now. That's interesting. Definitely a fan favorite in the gospel community. If you know, you know. But the lyric that I had just zeroed in on at that moment was, "You are the source of my strength." Coming back to what I just said about strength and where it really is sourced from, and where it is, how it is sustained. So we got the Knight of Wands, which I feel it gives more, it would speak more to the anti of the worst of your typical Knight of Wands, which is more or less an F-boy, or, someone that's unreliable, non-committal. But then here, this is as the Nine of Pentacles, which is more or less the single lady. So what's being said here? Are you a repellent for these energies that are not in alignment? So there's some type of this frequency of love, perhaps that you embody, acts as like a defense and maybe even an offense against imbalanced energies. Like advances, like consider the Diddy energy at this time, allegedly, as it's being projected, of his reputation that can't be trusted, that you would have to, more or less guard your heart from, maybe even protect the very natural physical essence of you on account of what behaviors they may or may not engage in. It's in reverse, which is what I'm struggling with, because I'm not sure if that is speaking to the worst of that nature, or I guess it would have to be. Hold on, let's get another one on the other side. With small offers. Yeah. And you know why? Okay, so this makes sense, because this could also reflect how you could even be seeing yourself, or have the propensity to see yourself in low self-esteem. Got it. That makes sense. Which would then make you, back to that original spread, most vulnerable and most what's the right word? I guess vulnerable is a good word, but there's another word I wanted to use, to attack from these like wild, out of control energies of malintent, whether it be on a mystical level where people are literally hurling spells and witchery and word spells and curses and things at you, or just wishing you unwell, or just jealous in general, or just opinionated and judgmental, whatever the case may be, where that's being hurled at you. As it was in a dream, how I was easily affected by judgment, what appeared to be like a judgmental thought or expression from somebody. This is the lowered frequency of esteem, where you feel somehow measured by it from the outside in, is what leaves you open to attack. Okay, thank you, Spirit, for bringing that full circle, because I'm like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, and these energies are wild and reckless with no abandon. It's like you can't control what other folks will do. I couldn't have controlled what that girl was going to say to me any more than I could have that I really even needed to address it, honestly. And I don't remember addressing it much outwardly. It was just a moment of contemplation within myself. But perhaps this is like almost the like almost like to kind of beef up your personal security a bit in this season, because you might have energies just like wild and out of control. Like they don't even know how to really control their own impulses or insults, or some people may be feeling very out of sorts with their own life and are looking to do nothing but project it or deflect it onto others. Back to what I said in the very beginning, like just being mindful of projections at this time. And then if you're at this sweet little vulnerable place of the Page of Pentacles, not really knowing the magnitude of your value and the ordinance of your anointing, whatever that may be, like what perhaps you're here to frolic free every day. Maybe that's your anointing. That's what you're designed to do, to show others exactly how that gets to look and inspire them to have some version of that in the same. And here you have the ops that could come and say one thing and kind of swipe you off that path. Literally sweep you off your feet like Diddy was sweeping me around that store, And in this regard, it could come in the form of, wild encounters that are immediately gratifying but don't have longevity or don't have a long-term resonance in your life for in a productive sense. It really comes down to you continue to affirm your value at its highest, though, so that you're not so infected or distracted by what may be going on around you in the contrary, or quite to the contrary. Something like that. Exactly. Here's the contrary. And when I was saying that, I was thinking the Five of Wands. I really, really was. I was seeing that. But remember, we already had the Five of Swords, where there is not just a matter of people maybe having a judgmental opinion about, or obstinate opinion about what you do and how you do it or who you are. They really want to deflect that opinion onto you so that you absorb it as truth. But that's, it only gets to be that if you receive it, if you literally take that offering and secure it by your own account, But what true resource or value would that have for you when you've already been affirmed by the highest source of love and adoration, of an ethereal level as to why you are perfectly fine being who you are, doing what you do, and having what you have. Like, it's just something about right now feels real tricky when it comes to protecting your energy against opinions and projections, because they could be one and the same, but sometimes the energy of competition can be projected without saying a word. Back to my dream, that girl could have walked in and just barely spoke to me or looked at me a certain way, and I could have felt judged. That energy exists in your force field without there really having to be much of a verbal affirmation of it. But what it is with that devil energy, I think the devil did come out, right? Yeah. What it is an invocation of your own insecurities and limitations. That's what it challenges. The same way she challenged me in that moment, it triggers you to a place of questioning and considering, your presence and, what is real and true for you, even if it doesn't necessarily have any grounds to do so. You give it the grounds. So I guess it's so much more important now to make sure that you are as grounded in the truth that you assert for yourself now more than ever before, as this evidence of your presence begins to materialize more, because it's been true. You've been doing you in the way that you have, and people probably have been having something to say or some objection or misunderstanding about it. But it's a different transitional period now where the fruits of that labor of love that you have devoted yourself to are now beginning to harvest. You're beginning to harvest it in real form, in tangible form. And it may invoke a bit of competition or reckless anger or resistance or agitation or even jealousy and envy, because whereas before people could kind of scoff at you, this is what it is. Thank you, Spirit. So just like the girl, when she saw me just minding my business shopping, it was like, oh, Danae type of look at you type of thing. It wasn't until I started dancing with Diddy that, yes, it was about the personal validation for me, for sure. And that's a whole nother piece. But that's when their heads turned to see, and I can only imagine, like, if I could have switched in the sequence to what they were thinking, but their heads turned to see the the manifestation and crystallization that would have been obstinate to their opinion and judgment against me. It was almost like I said, it was like vindicating and contradicting her sneers and jeers. So as that begins to become real, for you, whereas people before may have kind of like just brushed you off, like, oh yeah, that's just her reading them cards, or just her, with her little style videos, I'm saying personal stuff, or her talking to be talking, or whatever people may or may not have said about me. I really don't care, but it could have been a range of things, and people just naturally being people, But whereas they may have been able to kind of write you off before, or not even take you very seriously, let alone value you highly, the evidence of what you've been sowing into is harvesting in such a way that it's undeniable now. Like, it's clear, like, oh, she must have been working on something, or something that she's been doing must have made sense all this time. And instead, it may not register as an inspiration for everyone. For some, as I said, it could evoke more competition or jealousy or ego. This is what that is, like out of control ego and pride and things of that nature. And maybe for people to even do things impulsively that they wouldn't do otherwise, had it not been for this extremely intensified time of self-reflection and awareness. And those that are maybe not willing to settle in on that with themselves, for themselves, seeing you almost kind of like, smack them in the face with what's going well for the most part, or how perhaps maybe what they could have thought, or how what they have resolved about you may be untrue, can evoke some demons, in a primitive sense. Not altogether people that just want to hurt you or harm you, but internally, even as I said with my experience in the dream, it made me almost turn on myself, and question myself. It didn't really make me lash out at her so much. It made me question me. So it's multi-layered here in terms of the shift that's happening in real time in the earth right now, with transfers of wealth, transfers of power, windfalls of abundance, people ascending and accelerating and advancing left and right in some capacity, and others facing their fate and their reality in a more harsh way than some, and not really knowing how to accept that and digest that, let alone how to respond. So it really calls for, that's why in a roundabout way it's making the most sense for me to just say protect your passion and your peace at this time, and just have up your keep your shield of faith up for those deflections and projections, because some literally may not mean all that much harm by it, but it just may be a natural reflex as people are trying to figure out their own footing. And for some, they may mean all the harm. They may absolutely mean to demean you, to make themselves feel a notch or so better, at least at your eye level to some degree. And it don't have nothing to do with you, is the point. This wild, crazy person on this upside down horse don't have nothing to do with you over here just trying to invest the absolute best of yourself into your life experience and having the ordinance to do so. Everybody had the same opportunities and chances from a spiritual level. Yeah. Oh, I picked it up backwards, but I'm gonna keep it up right, because it might have just been me. Now the song is "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." It won't work. The funny thing is that I don't even think she's home. She turns on music for her dog when she leaves, and usually it's this like excruciatingly loud piano mute. Oh, she is, because I hear her singing. But I thought it was her turning on the music for her dog. So that's interesting. Excuse me. See, look at me judging. Because I'm like, I don't think she really listened to that, because she's so wild that I'll be like, child, I can't even imagine that she would that she even had that side. So that's interesting. You never know, right? Which is why you shouldn't judge. Yeah, but I hear her singing. That's amazing. Thank you for the messages, sis. I appreciate you today. 9 of Cups, energy here, wish fulfillment, which I picked up in the reverse, attached to this energy here, which definitely would give way to someone being unfulfilled in their own life and being triggered by perhaps you expressing your fulfillment, like that cause and effect here. And really, some people feeling like some level of injustice on account of it. That could be the energetic and mental imbalance of it, though. Like feeling like, why not me, or why her or him, like that type of energy, like, or feeling like, well, I was doing so and so, like start measuring up achievements and accolades and actions and stuff, and feeling like, well, I've been doing this and I've been doing that. Shoot, now that I'm talking with the spiritual, the gospel music in the back, it could be people looking from a highly religious place and perspective and feeling like, as I said, the judgment, okay. Seeing it from a scope that is a bit more skewed, at least unbeknownst to them, of not being more, not having a more expanded acceptance of what else could be righteous, outside of what they believe, even down to me being convicted in this moment for thinking she left the music on for the dogs and not that she down there having her own praise session, like, how dare you today, mind your business type of energy. But it's like, that's what, that's human, that's what we do, but some are a bit more reckless and may lack a bit more self-control and decorum than others when navigating that energy, especially from a highly emotional perspective. It's like one thing when we've all been kind of collectively speaking, there's been a bit of a detachment from our emotional essence and our spiritual nature, whereas people are starting to come more into more integrated with it, at least more aware of it. And, the resistance or the push and pull is the acceptance of those frequencies and learning how to manage and then react and respond. But that's a process, and especially when you weren't intentional to devote yourself to it, but it happens circumstantially, there is a balancing act that gets to happen for all to more or less coexist in a highly vibrational creative consciousness on one accord, like everybody's getting there at their own time. So hence the 9 of Cups that I'm going to keep in the upright, because somebody's fulfilled, somebody's satisfied here, maybe even you, but there's some that have not been able to attain that. It's been the pursuit of material satisfaction and bypassing this here, and now for some the transfer of energy is having to kind of go back and pursue this, the 9 of Cups, the spiritual satisfaction primarily, to then acquire and attract everything material on that account. Cause and effect, still law of attraction, spiritual law, everything is in order here. But the only thing that you can do is protect your own force field and your own auric field. You can't control how anybody else copes or deals or responds, but you can protect you, because you absolutely can be affected and susceptible to encounters without protection, without guarding your spiritual space. But it's not for you to be impacted. It's not like, the justice for you to kind of like bear the brunt of whatever or what and how everyone else is adjusting. That's not your responsibility unless you assume it to be. And some people will make it your responsibility simply because they want the relief from their own pressure. Or discomfort, I should say. Yeah, exactly. We on the right track here. 10 of Pentacles. Can't even go no more up than that. With the Ace, a lot of emotional energy and spiritual, I suppose, more than anything. One and the same, you know, love vibes, happiness, peace here. Like, yeah, protecting your peace is paramount right now. Because even if this was the Knight of Wands in the upright, it still would be a question about that advance. You know, is it something that you can trust yourself with? Is it reliable and dependable? It, in the reverse, is saying that it absolutely isn't. That's somebody that can't even trust themselves with themselves. Which is funny that I couldn't really settle on which way I wanted to read the card at first. So that speaks to me that you also may want to be conscious of your propensity to be overly compassionate in ways that veer into like kind of being naive or putting yourself in harm's way on account of being too, like, wanting to heal in ways and in spaces that you're not ordained to. I feel guided to say that. Like, there's not much that you can do for someone at the Knight of Wands in reverse that they aren't willing to do for themselves. Ain't that much love in the world. So how that could even look is giving an F-boy that you see great potential and the benefit of the doubt, because you can see all of their greatest qualities, but if they're not emotionally available and highly esteemed in their own right without your help or assistance, that's a train wreck waiting to happen. And that's something that could absolutely depreciate the value of peace and prosperity that you've acquired or attained for yourself. And again, you would have no one to point fingers at but yourself in that regard. You couldn't blame it on, well, you know, this is what I do. I like to love people to life and I like to heal. Okay, that's cool, but there will always be enough work for you to do on yourself for yourself before you got to start trying to project that healing energy to those that are not in a position to really receive it. You know, just as easily as I was affected by an old girl who just said two lines to me, you know, that energy is always more well invested in you to even just maintain the frequency that you obtained before you try to, you know, literally deplete it all on someone, pour out everything that you have to offer on someone that really is going to take it and run with it. Particularly here, if this is the Nine of Cups, as the struggle position, literally somebody that has a struggling self-esteem, that struggles to be satisfied, maybe struggles to be faithful and devoted even to themselves, to one thing, you know, as the Knight of Wands is, like they are, it's hard for them to commit to themselves for longer than what their, you know, lustful attention span can afford. So when it comes to now coupling that energy and the prospect of a happily ever after, there could be a misalignment there. And the point is to just be honest about that for yourself and not condemning to whomever, not even to the reversed Knight of Wands, but just being truthful with what you need to stay aligned to be your best, period. There, exactly, the Queen of Pentacles, and your true value, your worth, what you deserve, the standard that you set, you know, all of that. Even when I think about the dream, like with Diddy, you know, it's funny, but it's like, is Diddy validating? Is he vindicating that I'm dancing with him? Or is it even depreciating at this point? You know, it's like, be clear about what you're really hooking up to. Is it the facade, the appearance, the look? you know, even just the ideal of the person or idea of commitment and partnership itself, that is the glamour, or is it really what it affords you, like how it truly feeds your soul or helps you to maintain this balance of peace and happiness? That has to be prioritized by you and you alone, with no exceptions and no concessions otherwise. Only the highest value for the highest value queen. All right, let's get one. Well, I'm gonna do another row, but let me get another. Yeah, look at this. This reading is really interesting. Like, because here all this energy is, and this is the forward movement and advancement of the, you know, the potential for a very prosperous union when it's well, you know, when it's healthy and secure, and two people are on the same page and have a commonality in the future that they're looking to secure, or at least the present, you know, the present of their security and support and all that good, all the good stuff that you could idealize about love. Not that it has to be perfect and flawless, but that it definitely is empowering. And that's what the Eight of Wands speaks to. It's forwarding. It's not stagnant. It's not regressive. It's not oppressive. It doesn't make you feel less than or insecure. It also doesn't make you feel superior to the point where you know, like, it's like, who am I, what am I even doing here? You know, that real unequally yoked type of connection. Or just like on two different pages even, regardless of level or ascension or whatever, just like really you're on a page that does not ever really cross paths or align with the page that I'm on. You could be on a perfectly fine page, as am I, but if it somehow pulls you away from your path and doesn't allow you to peacefully walk even parallel with one another, yeah, it's not. And that's with relationships, but even opportunities, places, spaces, every which way. Like, it's about checking into that supreme frequency, like what's allowing that to stay pure and at its finest. Anything that advances toward it to taint that energy is just an enemy of the state of you. Period. No tea, no shade. With no condemnation, again, and with all grace, but for self first and foremost. Because there is a great legacy here of love to lead, and that has the potential to be highly advanced and impressionable, but it can only be that without struggle, you know, like not the struggle love, like it came out kind of sideways. Yeah, and it's up to you to discern what that looks like, period. Objectively, emotionally detached to the dependency of emotion or on emotion, or even partnership itself, or validation, or whatever. Certainly through the source of love, you know, as your centric force, but still being able to use your head, your logic, and your intellect to decide what is a proper alignment for that source and for that force. It's like you got to use your head and your heart out here. I think that was the Empress. I'm seeing y'all pop up. I think that was the Emperor. And the Six of Wands. The Eight of Pentacles. The Death card. And Judgment again. Wow. Interesting. That was interesting. I wonder if you could really see that or if I was too far back. What's judgment about? Okay, Queen of Cups. There is that connection, that judgment of source, but still logically discerning. Yeah. Perfect segue, or I should say confirmation, actually. And that you have the authority to operate that, especially with the Empress popping in, popping out, the Six of Wands and the Emperor. It's like you're ordained to operate in a certain authority over your vessel as the sole sovereign protector of your spiritual nature. Like nobody else is really going to do that for you in the 3D world but you. You can't even depend on the intangibility of God or universe any more than what you're willing to do for self first. Is following your lead. Yeah, that's real. And it's underwriting or undergirding, whatever the word is, your ambition. Which is why it makes it virtually impossible for those oppositional forces that, you know, are so insistent on being an interference or an objection or distraction or disturbance or destruction in your life to really take hold, as long as you are activated and asserted in your authority. Because it's already been decided from an ethereal vantage point. When it trickles down by way of that internal source of esteem through supreme self-love, it's an unstoppable force at that point. There's nothing you can really do. You would only be the one that would be able to say, ooh, my stomach, Lord. I am hungry too. You would be the only one to decide, as that was in the dream, what gets to pierce that auric field and stay. Because sometimes we get affected by stuff, like I said, it provokes our own self-esteem, our own psyche, things that may have lied dormant that we didn't even realize were still a thing. You know, when I'm considering my dream for myself, and then the whole thing with Diddy and all that dancing and stuff and wanting to be seen to some degree, that evoked a reflection about what it means to be recognized. Does it even matter? Or to be so-called vindicated by way of, on account of what people thought about you or how they judged you. That's an internal reflective trigger, you know, something for me to sit with and then decide, like, is this, because it's natural to experience, it's a natural response. But like I said, that's the have and the have-nots in this season, as to those that get those triggers and that incitement and just jump off the deep end with it, or make it somebody else's problem, or react and respond in a self-destructive way. Then those that really take that in and say, what do I need to accept about this, and what do I need to release? Why would it matter if, for me to be dancing with Diddy in the corner store, and for the girls that jab me to see it? You know, in real life, what does that translate into, and how can I purge that filter, that energy from my auric field as the Queen of Wands, from the Ace of Cups vantage point, with the Queen of Swords objectivity, to say exactly what it is, whether it has it is valid, and whether it should take precedence in my space, or if and how do I release it or expel it. That's the have and the have not energy of this time. is not even so much about material manifestation, although that's what comes on the back end, because as soon as you would allow certain projections to pierce your auric field and then taint that pureness of posterity that you have maintained for yourself, acquired for yourself, is as soon as that does begin to have an effect on how prosperous you are and productive you are or are not, based on, again, that frequency of self-esteem, which becomes what? Your attractive force, your magnetic field. If I'm feeling like I'm not worthy, or, if I had taken that energy of like a frolicking all the day, like, and ruminated on that all day long, imagine how that would have taken away from energy that could have been more well invested. Hell, it might have kept me from dancing in the aisle altogether, and having that moment of release and exuberance for whatever it was worth at that time. Like, how many people can say that they be dancing in the corner store with Diddy, doing ballroom dances to Every Little Step I Take? It's almost symbolic of missing an opportunity of a lifetime. And sometimes projections that we absorb as our reality can do that, but it comes on account of not properly filtering it out, and also properly I always forget this word, like qualifying it, or qualifying is not the right word, but like almost categorizing it, like relevant, irrelevant, that type of energy. All right, couple more and I'm out. Yeah, okay. That's the gratifying work. In this case, probably that one can do on self, as I was just speaking about it. I was going to say tireless work, but it's not tireless in a detrimental sense, like it's agonizing. It's just that it never stops, but it also is extremely gratifying and fulfilling, right up here under the 9 and the 10 of Cups, because, it's the work on you in this case, or at least work maintaining the frequency of you that could maintain this 9 of Cups, 10 of Cups energy. That is satisfying. That is gratifying. That's the work that you would want to devote to and almost commit to, for whether you get paid for it or not, because even if you don't profit materially, spiritually, it's like an infinite reward. As I was just kind of speaking of, like always checking in on what's being evoked in your spiritual energy and your emotions. Like what do you feel provoked? How do you feel provoked to respond, and why? And then, navigating that truth and reality for yourself in a way that becomes almost a teachable moment for yourself, if it needs to be, but ultimately it is elevating and productive in itself. And that work probably never stops. Yeah, committing to yourself. And this is the commitment and devotion to the contract of love, again, with cup energy, that you can make with even the polarities or dualities of your own nature, that you get to make, maybe even have to make in order to thrive. Renegotiating is what I'm feeling, those old terms of esteem for something more refreshed and fair. Like reading the fine print, so to speak, like of old contracts, or what you may have committed to before without even knowing it to some degree, subconsciously or psychologically, and reestablishing new terms. I love that. That's awesome. I love how that came through. All right, two more. I would say this is just like rejecting anything that doesn't look like the Four of Cups, but also being okay with being rejected by those that don't see your worth and value on sight. Because sometimes that happens, like just as in the dream, you know, like where the girl kind of played me a little bit. And you could internalize that, or you could expel it. Or you could, matter of fact, you could alchemize it. As a matter of fact, the highest response energetically is to let it be force fuel for you to just keep doing what you're doing, because you must be doing something right if folks got that much to say about it, you know? Exactly. Ooh, and the Emperor right under the deck. Wow. Yep, the Queen of Wands. That's perfect combination. Total sovereignty and control over your creativity without inhibition, without care really of being understood or accepted. The Queen of Wands is not focused on what anybody else has to say about who she is and how she expels energy. She just does it. And those that get it, good. If not, you'll probably catch on at some point. And at that point, she'll probably be on to something else. You know, that's how fire energy moves. It doesn't linger. It can spread like wildfire for as long as there's new inspiration for it to catch on to, and usually there always is for fire energies, regardless of your sign. Those that are super ambitious and passionate about life, right here with this Eight of Wands. Certainly not limited to a zodiac sign or even a prominent element in your chart, because we all got some type of fire somewhere. Got to be something that ignites you to live. And if it's just one thing, that's enough for you to really, you know, douse that flame for as long as you can and as you need to, because that's the force fuel that keeps you going, keeps you ambitious, keeps you from being stuck and stagnant for longer than what is necessary or what is productive. As in here, even with the Four of Cups, to miss opportunities to advance and expand. Nah, the Queen of Wands ain't doing that. But you also would be fine to allow certain opportunities to pass you by, even if it seemed like something good, you know, like, oh man, I really would have wanted to be a part of that. Or if you could see a synergy there, it could just be that it's not aligned, and that's okay too. As they say, rejection is projection. And in the terms of relationship, as I kind of have been jumping back and forth, we certainly ain't crying over people passing on us, not as the Queen of Wands, because it'd be better to be rejected than be neglected in a relationship that you ultimately find yourself miserable in, or that is just not on the same frequency of what you would want for yourself. Yeah. So Four of Cups, one more. Ooh, what? The Tower and the Death card? I'm astonished. That's how, well, okay, well, this could be definitely sudden, something sudden and surprising with that Eight of Wands overhead. Unexpected transformation and change, maybe even endings. Let me get another one with this death card. What's on the bottom first? The moon. I was going to say this is giving some vibes, regressing to those vibes, because Judgment did come up with that first little quick mini spread we did, right? This could be giving a small light to the obstinate energies, again, that feel rejected from you or dejected from your force field. And because of their poor motivations and mal motivations and poor reactions or projections, whatever, because of their bad behavior, okay, this is the response, you know. But that's been brought to an end, even as I said, like, I didn't even want to give it that much life, because it can only attach to you as much as you allow it to. And as we settled on, that's by way of insecurity. That's the only way it can take root, is when you aren't sure about you, when you are in question about where you are and why you are and things of that matter, or where you feel like you need to be validated from said opposition that has an opinion but ultimately doesn't have the authority over your existence. You do. That's already been established. So this is the energy here where the work may have been, again, greatly invested in to, you know, on account of the spirit of rejection or feeling like there was a missed opportunity, and seeing, you know, the value of the work that you put in now, and maybe perhaps experiencing the reaction of the work that they put in, because everybody's getting what they put in, you know. But here is the shakeups and shifts that it's causing, not just in what people are experiencing on in a destructive way to kind of like reset their faulty foundations, but also it is a bit of a shock and awe, as I said, to the senses of those that have felt they had you judged and pegged long time ago for who you are and who they are, and now seeing things differently is a shock to the senses, and that their ambitions in the way that they were in pursuit have come to a bit of a screeching halt here with the death card. And the moon, yeah, this is representative of fears and that mystical energy that I was speaking of from the very beginning, that people may have done some strange things for change, literally, with transformation in the death card here. They may have. Let me get one with the death and then I'm out. I know I keep saying that. And on account of seeing things change for you is also shocking. And suddenly so, you know, like, there's the devil again. Wow, with the 10 of Pentacles, which is kind of flipped out a little crazy. Yeah, it's like what they thought they were on their way to, people are in shock and awe to be, you know, stand to be corrected at this point, and then to see you somehow transform into everything they thought they were on track to be or to have, at least, and you become it, doing in many opinions either much less or something all too different and strange for it to be so. Oh yeah, it's a lot of shock. So like I said before, it could be just a natural, like a knee-jerk reaction, a reflex for people to kind of act out a little bit because it doesn't make sense to them. It doesn't make sense. So they could act out on what they say, actually verbalize to you, how they respond to you energetically or emotionally, how they may even disconnect from you, and that could evoke an emotion as well. How they treat you, what they may say to others, or just the general energy toward you. Like I said, sometimes people don't have to say a thing. It's just what they don't say, even in congratulating you when good things do happen, that speaks volumes. So ultimately you just got to be 10 toes down, wading in this water of self-love, of the most supreme essence, because you may or may not get much of it outside of yourself right now. You may not, especially if you've been particularly self-contained, maybe even a bit isolated or independent in nature, or in solitude or whatever. There's coming a time and an invitation to begin to reconvene in spirit groups, and in places and spaces that you do feel supported and loved and appreciated, and understood and valued and all of that great stuff, encouraged. But where you may be looking for it most, or where you may have expected to get it the most, there may be a bit of a void there, or a deficiency. So just juice up on all that you can for yourself in the meantime. King of Swords. Look, again, they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. The Five of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. This is the energy behind the scenes, even when it doesn't mean to be, even when it wants to look like it's happy for you, like, yeah, that's what's up, man. Like, or they want to look like they doing it too, like there's some strangeness here about the King of Swords with this energy to me that doesn't feel altogether honest, or it feels like a bit of a facade, like to put on a good face of what would be the ideal response, or the ideal way to be. Consider friends, family, even foes that wouldn't want it to be well known and evident that they have a problem with you, maybe jealous or feeling some resistance for multiple reasons, but even for their own ego, not to want to appear to be that bothered by anything outside of them. It doesn't feel good, even when it is natural, So again, this is why it's to be aware that this energy is in the air, but I don't feel like it's your problem to bear. Bars. Nope, it's not for you to stress about. The only obligation you have is just to keeping yourself well aligned and who you are, honestly. As long as you are operating in integrity and being true to the game that you claim, then there's no need to explain yourself otherwise, or even to be all too concerned about obstinance or resistance otherwise. Like, just stay, as they say, mind the business that pays you. And if it ain't paying you, mind the business that saves you, because that certainly, minding your business certainly does save lives. Yes, it does. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.